Looking to showcase your product or service? There's no better place than the AFCA Convention, which will take place January 8th through the 10th in 2023 in Charlotte, North Carolina. The AFCA Convention is an opportunity to exhibit in front of over 7,000 coaches and staff members. Head on over to convention.afca.com for more information. See you in Charlotte.
This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring Davenport University's running backs coach, Juwan Lewis. Coach Lewis discusses his passion for educating others, shares how his faith guides him to pour into both his players and his family, and reflects on the impact his community has had on his coaching career. Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Lewis.
Coach Lewis, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's an honor and privilege always.
No doubt, man. Well, I know it's that time of the year where you've been ripping and running, go straight from spring ball, whatever that looks like. For I know everybody's doing a little different now to recruiting, to about to hit camp mode here. So I know your time is very valuable. So once again, thank you for taking the time to join us, man. So how was spring and recruiting for you?
Spring was great. We had a really, really productive spring, especially given the fact that we actually hired in our head coach hired in a whole brand new offensive coordinator / O-line coach, and
okay.
it was phenomenal. Guys really, you really see the buy-in from guys who come from the JUCO transfer portal, even some guys who were mid-year enrollees from high school did a tremendous job. So the future looks more than bright. It's blinding right now. So I'm looking forward to, fall camp when it comes. I'm looking forward to the fall and to see what we display, because it was promising what we did in the spring.
That's exciting, man. Well, it's interesting you get enough of these coaches on the podcast. We talk about all kind of different things, especially career trajectory and stuff that can be beneficial for other coaches, namely is what we try to talk about. And, I didn't even know you guys had just got a new offensive coordinator. So I'm just going to ask you a quick question. What was that adaptation, not just for your players, but really for you, right? You were there in the fall, learned the playbook, knew the playbook probably in and out. Now all of a sudden you got a brand new playbook coming in. You got a new guy I'm assuming you don't know very well. What was some of the adaptations you had to personally take to prepare your running backs to play well with them?
Well, there wasn't – when you got a guy like Coach Russell that is a true student of the game, there's not much to adapt to. It's just more so picking off of what do you need, which is what do you need? Right. How do we need to adjust? And it wasn't much of an adjustment. I think he's going to do a tremendous job for that O-line room. He already has, and that's just speaking from an assistant coach. And I know our head coach thinks very highly of him. I'm going on record to say, man, I think he's a phenomenal coach. There's some different things that you've seen within that O-line room just in the spring, and there was a lot of obviously you have your guys come in, do what they have to do, but he's great, man. He's great. I feel like the guys really just picked up on everything, and it wasn't hard from an offensive staff.
Good, man. Well, thanks for sharing that perspective. Now, just to rewind, talk a little bit about you real quick. Just like most of us, we played high school ball, did pretty well, had the opportunity to play collegiate ball, and we all, for the large amount of us, had this aspiration to play professional, play to the next level, extend that football playing career as long as possible. And honestly, it's probably why a lot of us end up coaching, just because it's hard for us to give up that just whatever it is that juices us up about the game. Now, you had the opportunity to continue to play both arena and indoor football leagues after your time playing in college was done. At what point did you say, man, this is what I want to do? I want to coach. I want to be a professional coach. I want to coach at the highest level. Yada yada yada. When did that come to you?
So it's funny because I'm pretty sure you've heard this before. There's always those guys that they know that they want to coach as soon as they're done playing pro, as soon as they're done playing collegiate, even through high school. I did not know I didn't know I even wanted to coach until my little brother, Coach Lewis, introduced me to Coach Ferris at the time at the University of Mount Union in 2018. I had just got done, I was playing. I just got done. I won a championship my rookie year. I'm on I'm on a high right now just for football and just for playing. And he's like, well, what are you going to do this offseason? I was like, man, I'm going to train. I'm going to continue to finish out my master's degree. And he's like, well, man, why don't you give coaching a try, you know? And I kind of gave him a sideways look. I'm like, what? No. But he kept talking me into it, and I'm like, okay. And the conversation with Coach Ferris was great. It was phenomenal. And here I am in my first coaching job at the University of Mount Union. And seeing that from a powerhouse D3, one that's, you know, you're very lucky to start your career out anywhere, but let alone at the University of Mount Union.
No doubt.
And I learned so much. Obviously, I was a fair-haired youth. I knew nothing about coaching, you know, and there was things that I just had to learn on the go. And there was such a great staff there that taught me the ropes. And here I am sitting in my first year coaching at the national championship at the D3 level, and it was phenomenal. I'm like, you know, this is great,
right?
You know, and once that season was done, I was like, man, I love coaching. I love coaching college football. This is exactly what I want to do once I'm done. And freaking going on 5 years later, here I am at Davenport University, going on year 2 here.
Yeah,
and it's been nothing but a tremendous blessing from a professional standpoint of development as well as a personal standpoint of development. It's been hands down. I love the staff. I love our head coach, man. I love everything about the university.
That's awesome, man. I actually love this. Right, I didn't realize that's kind of how it went down. Now, let me ask you kind of a tough question. I start this off with me because I'm not afraid to kind of put it out there and be honest. I remember when I got done playing my collegiate ball, I had 2 offensive coordinators, both of them really good dudes, and ran some unique offenses amongst themselves. So I was able to learn quite a bit of ball. And I remember getting my first coaching job, and I thought I knew everything, man. I mean, I just walked in there and thought I knew everything, and just very quickly found out I knew nothing. And it was, you know, obviously I didn't have the opportunity to win a national championship, be at the D3 level, be under a guy like Coach Ferris. But I just do remember that moment when I sat in that staff meeting, and them guys got to talking. I'm like, wait, what? Hold up, you know. And you played professionally, you played for some different organizations, you had a variety of collegiate experience. So you probably walked in there, I would imagine, with a little bit of, I got this, man. This is going to be easy. At what point did you kind of realize you didn't know as much as you thought? Yeah.
So here I am. I'm walking in and meeting the guys, and I'm like, man, you know, I played at the highest level.
Right.
I played against guys in arena who, and I got a funny joke for you. I played with guys who were in NFL camps, CFL camps on rosters. When our starting center with the Duke City Gladiators, he was on the roster with the Detroit Lions for a couple of years. Guys who've gotten looks. You know, I had a couple playing dates, you know, with the CFL myself. I did do a pro day. That was, you know, wasn't good enough. You know, I did get on a priority prospect board with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I'm like, man, whatever. You know, I know more than enough. And I'm sitting in here, and I'm sitting in my first staff meeting, and we're going over scheduling and administrative aspects and camp and playbook stuff from a coaching perspective. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I'm like, here I am thinking I know it because I played at some of the highest level. I know nothing. And you know, the good thing, what I am, I'm not a prideful guy. I will never let myself. I'm a workaholic, man. I'm going to get that job done. I'm going to figure out a way, but I'm not afraid to let someone know I don't know.
Right. And
I had a moment where I'm like, I don't know, but within having that moment, I kind of just let things kind of gradually pick up. I kind of started gradually picking up on things. I'm starting to talk. I'm not talking from a player's perspective anymore. I'm talking from a coach's perspective now. And it's crazy how when you're starting to go through a change, you naturally kind of reject at first, but once you kind of see the success of it, and once you start to pick up on it, once you have that smile, that aha moment, you know, you start to become a sponge.
Right. And
that was the biggest thing I kept learning or was always told, man, just be a sponge, be a sponge, be a sponge, pick up everything that you can pick up. And it has been the mentality up to this point today. You know, I always encourage the next person. And like I said, I'm going into year 5. I still don't know anything. I know what I know.
Right.
And if we get on the board, we can talk ball all day. I love talking football. I love growing up. I have aspirations to be an office coordinator one day. But I'm not afraid to learn. I'm not afraid to learn.
You're also not afraid to get on the other side of it and teach. One of the things that my first introduction to you was about 8 months ago or so, where you shot me an email and said, "Hey man, I'd love to get the opportunity to just get in front of people and talk about what I know." And I did a little homework on you and all that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, you are speaking about on running back play at the AFCA convention. And I follow you on social media. I know you've done the online clinics, the posting your tape on social media, all that kind of stuff. Why is it important not only to be that sponge to learn, but also kind of give back that knowledge and aspire to get in front of others and speak about what you know?
Well, that's the thing, Coach. We're in this profession. We're in a teaching profession.
Yeah.
We're not just teaching our players, man. I love teaching life through the game we love. But what good is it if I'm not teaching the next person? Through, having that opportunity, and that was my first time ever even going to the AFCA. That was my first time going, and I got to do a buzz session, and it was a life-changing experience, meeting different people just soaking it all up. And I got people asking me, "Hey, when's the next time you're going to update your drill tape? Hey, man, can I get a copy?" What good are you doing? What good are you doing to this profession if you're not teaching the next man? Because there's somebody literally that is in my shoes that is just starting out at a program and is trying to learn everything they need to learn because they have aspirations and truths to it. And if I'm not doing something, if I'm not teaching the next man, if I'm holding on to nuggets and gems that I learned from my own experience as well as from other great coaches from this profession, what's the point of being in this profession to begin with? All right, it ties into my coach philosophy: relatability plus confidence equals trust. It doesn't just go with players; it goes with coaches as well.
Absolutely,
you're going to meet some guys that you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone and shake someone's hand and say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Coach Juwan Lewis at Davenport University." You got to be willing to do that. You didn't know me from Adam, and we're at the 11th hour, and you're like, "Hey, man, I got a spot for you, man. I would, if you're still willing to do this buzz session, I would love for you to do it." And man, on the other side of the phone, you didn't notice, but I was jumping up and down. So I composed myself. I'm like, "Yeah, of course, Coach. What do you need me to do?" And it was you do stuff like that, and you learn. You learn what you're capable of. You start to learn your own potential, and you keep starting to rise your own potential to the top, man. So
yeah. Well, I was able to peek my head in there, man, and had a pretty full room, and I spoke with energy and passion. I was excited to see that. And now you mentioned being able to share these nuggets that, number one, you've learned along the way, just been the type of athlete that you were, but these nuggets that you were able to learn from other coaches. Now let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned Coach Ferris, Tony Anise, some of these guys that you've been around either in your playing or coaching career. What have you learned from being around some of these high caliber coaches, or even coaches that the world doesn't, you say their name and doesn't resonate with everybody? I mean, there's a ton of great coaches in this profession. What have you been able to learn and implement and, give to your players and other coaches? Really, I guess my main question is who's heavily influenced you in your coaching style?
I got a couple, and a couple other guys will probably be jealous because I've learned to learn and meet a lot of coaches, man, in a short amount of time. But I mean, if we're starting at the collegiate level, Coach Ron English was, he gave me my opportunity to play at the Division I level, and Coach Creighton followed with it. Those guys both taught life lessons to a young guy, a guy who wanted to be a great husband, a guy who wanted to be a great father, a guy who wanted to be a great student athlete at that. So they taught me a lot of things, at the collegiate level. They taught me how to grow up. And then as you transition to, I grad transferred to Ferris State, where I pledged the greatest fraternity known to man, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, by the way, Phi Zeta chapter. You meet, Coach Anise, and I've known Coach Anise since I was 3 years old, actually. Him and my dad coached for a very long time at the high school ranks, and he broke off and went to the collegiate level. And he taught me, that short stint of being at Ferris, he taught me how to adjust. It's all about knowing how to adjust. And to go even deeper on that staff, and it's crazy how life comes at you full circle. My current head coach, Coach Sparky McEwen, he's right on that staff teaching me resilience. And he still teaches that to me till today, even being in my 5th year of coaching. I'm never too prideful to learn anything. I'm never too prideful to be resilient. I'm never too prideful to continue to stay on that path, man. So he's done a tremendous job. He still to this day is a person that I find and feel that he's made a significant part of my life, both professionally and personally. Coach Jay Peterson, who's now with the Baltimore Ravens, he was one of my position coaches at Eastern Michigan, and he taught me that grit. He taught me the grind. He taught me so many things of trusting yourself. He taught me how to trust myself for sure. And obviously, last but not least, I have to, because if I don't, he'll probably ground me. My dad, Coach Tracy Lewis, was at Muskegon High School, as well as the remainder of the Muskegon High School staff, Coach Fairfield, Coach Bowles, and Coach Denise was a part of that staff as well. He taught me how to just tuck my head and go. Tuck my head and go. He taught me how to grind. He taught me how to get in great habits of staying after practice and doing things by myself. He always would say, man, there's going to be at some point where I'm not going to be there. What are you going to do? And there's been a couple times, even early on in high school, where he wasn't there, and I had to learn how to grind on myself. I had to get up and go run 200s on the track during track season to get that time down to a 21. I had to stay after practice and get extra sprints in because I know they didn't want me to come out of the game. He taught me that. And, I thank my dad tremendously. I thank both my parents. I have the pleasure of having 2 moms, biological mom and a stepmom. And they both played a tremendous part of my life. They were the ones who counseled me when my dad was getting on my nerves. But no, they've all played a tremendous part, as well as my siblings, my brothers, everybody. But, my dad he helped me realize what I really wanted to do young,
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's amazing. And you said all those names and rattled them off without batting an eye. And the reality of it is, if we had more time, you probably could go through even more people that had some type of impact on the type of coach that you are. And it's just a reminder of how great this profession is. It's just a bunch of people pouring into each other, and you take all those great things, or what you perceive to be great things, and you gonna pour it to some other young guys that one of them are going to be a coach one day, and one of them are going to, I don't know if it'd be this podcast, but at some point in time they're going to be like, hey man, I remember what Coach Lewis, instilled in me when I was a running back for him at Davenport, or wherever your journey takes you. And so it's just amazing how great this can work. And you spent a heavy emphasis on your father, with him being a long-time high school coach. I mean, that's huge. And congratulations to you. You just had your first son, Kenzo, right? I pronounced that correctly. There you go, man. And so how has having that kid now, I mean, because you've got to see it, be on the receiving end from your dad so much. And I my dad wasn't a coach, but he coached all of our little league things, and kind of had a bunch of coaching mannerisms to him. And so you were always on the receiving end of that deal. Now, how has that changed? Even your interactions with other student athletes, having that kid, how's your perspective changed now being a father?
The biggest thing that I've learned, and it's a big key into being a father, and it's crazy how it transitions into being a coach, is patience. You want this dude, I want this dude to be a 5-star, highly recruited athlete tomorrow, like yesterday, right? Yeah. But even, it goes tenfold within coaching. There's some things that some players, it's going to take some time to develop.
Right.
You have some guys that are transferring mid-year, and you're introducing them to things that they have never done before, drills they have never done. And it may be frustrating because you're such a perfectionist and you want them to get it done like yesterday, and you want them to be, top notch. And that's not how this profession works. Right. When you give it true patience, time, and affection, like I am with my son, and I'm not doing this alone, man. My wife, Cache Lewis, is a trooper. Yeah. She's a true trooper. If we had more time, I could tell you why. But the true thing that I'm transitioning right now into coaching is, and I've always done it, but it's at a new level now, is patience. Right. When those guys feel your patience, it starts to continue to build their confidence. All right. Sometimes when you're always in them, and you can instill, and you can be a tough coach, but every kid has a breaking point. Even the toughest kid has his breaking point. and you have to be able to relate to these guys off the field just as much as on the field. I got to get to know the best you as a person as I do the best you as a player. That takes time, patience, affection, and it's been working tenfold, man. These dudes know that I will always put them in the most successful situation possible when our head coach allows me, and they trust that. They trust. We've run through thick and thin, and that's what you want to do in your room. Yep. So I'm going to do the same for my son.
No doubt, man. Well, this is going to sound totally off topic, but I promise I'll bring it back around. We started this podcast about 4 or 5 years ago. We didn't know what we wanted it to be. We just said, man, I'd been coaching for a while, just record me talking to coaches. And, we talked X's and O's. We talked about favorite recruiting stops, all this kind of stuff. And then ultimately it kind of shifted. Our best content kind of ended up being just sitting there talking about coaches and their journeys and, just all these things that you deal with as a coach that, we don't talk about. We do a bus session on running backs. I'm sure you weren't talking about Kenzo. You know what I mean? It's just it's just the way and Kenzo might not have been here, but your wife was certainly pregnant. And so we found this as a good space to talk about some of these things. And one of the things I didn't have this plan, but I love to talk just really, really quickly, especially with you being a new father. You had this, and you talking about how much of a grinder you are. You all of a sudden you have this person that you're responsible for that shows up into your life, and you have this job that it's different than every other job out there. I'm sure there's a few jobs that are pretty similar where you wake up at 6 a.m., you get home at 10 a.m. 10 p.m. You get done with a football game and you go hop into the vehicle and you got to go recruit for the next week. It's just one of these unique professions where you don't spend that much time at the house. You don't have a lot of time for hobbies. You don't have a lot of time for these other things. And all of a sudden you have a kid. How have you transitioned into being a father? And been present with your kid whenever you have that availability.
Well, the biggest thing is when you have a great coach who's raised tremendous sons like Coach AJ McEwen, who's our DC on the staff. It's really easy. I would never look at raising my son as a job, never. And I know, I know it can be tough. Trust me, man. There's some times you have to sacrifice some sleep.
Yeah.
But I have the privilege of bringing my son around people that I love and trust, i.e., being the staff and being the players. My position group, other position groups. It's not that hard. I'm able to do something that my dad did with me young. Knowing and being able to instill what you want to do at a very young age is such a benefit. It's such a benefit because, when you sprinkle in a relationship with God and he circles you around people who are positively connected in your life, man, it's so easy. And then thus having family around the area as well. I do understand now the true meaning of it takes a village. It does. It truly does. And my wife, again, I wish I had so much more time on this podcast, but she's a trooper. She makes it easy. And she became a football head. She can recite a clinic verbatim. She knows so much about football now. She has my mannerisms down. So it's not hard. It really isn't hard, man. It's all about your support system. And I have a tremendous support system with me.
Absolutely, man. That's what it's all about. Now, before I let you go, I kind of saw this as you were putting some of your stuff out on social media. I thought this was always pretty cool because I kind of did this with each one of my groups, whether I was coaching receivers or running backs. We always had a little nickname for our group, and I know some people kind of keep a nickname. Whatever group comes in, it's always the same nickname. Every year we kind of changed ours up, and our players had some accountability. Like my last year coaching, we were the Land Sharks, our running back group, and they embraced it. They scored a touchdown. They did a little shark dance or something like that. But you call your group the Stable. What values do you try to instill in those players, and how do y'all kind of embrace the Stable mantra?
So the Stable. Man, the Stable was actually birthed a couple of years ago between Hiram and the University of Findlay. And I brought it here because I wanted to instill in those guys that no matter where you are on that depth chart, I'm going to prepare you like you're going to start a game and play about 50 plus snaps. All right, I'm going to prepare you and I'm going to develop you, and you are going to know that I care and I love you, and I'm instilling things but when you leave this university just as much as when you're using this university, when you're here at this university, i.e. graduating and doing a tremendous job on the field. My guys, in that position group, and I can say the same for the remainder of the team, they're tenacious, they're tough, they're nasty, but they have focus and poise is what I teach these guys in the stable. But at the end of the day, they all trust, it all goes, again, full circle back to my coach philosophy. They trust and believe that I'm going to put them in the most successful spots possible. I remember there was a time I called two guys within the group, and I asked them, because it was my first, going through the fall, and I want to know. I'm like, hey, man, how are you adjusting to me? How do you like it? How do you like how I've been developing you? They both said the same thing, and I'm like, did you rehearse this before I called you? No, I'm just telling you the truth, coach. I just know that you're always going to put me in the most successful situation. And that was the goal coming in here. That was the goal. I know our head coach knows it. I know our OC knows it. I know our wide receiver coach knows it. Every coach knows it. They know how much I love my guys. They know how much I love this group. They know how much I love the staff. And it makes it all that easier when you have a tremendous staff, a tremendous head coach, a tremendous coordinators, tremendous position coaches all through. It's not hard, man. Development is key here, and we stick to it.
Coach, man, this has been fantastic. I wish I had a little bit more time to pick your brain, but I do appreciate everything that you've stepped up and been willing to do for us. I know. Hopefully, I can find a way to get you get you into something again this year at the AFCA convention. But before I let you go, I do want to give everybody the opportunity to give you a follow on Twitter, if you don't mind sharing your social media, so guys can kind of keep up with all the great stuff that you're doing with your stable.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Just follow me at Coach J_J_Lou. That's Coach _J_Lou. Follow me. I always put little snippets of football on there. I love talking it. I love instilling and giving.
Absolutely. Well, we'll make sure to link that in the show notes, make it easy for coaches to find you, man. And I hope the rest of the spring goes well for you as we transition here to the summer. All the camps go well, and you guys can show up healthy for a nice fall.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, Coach.
All right. No problem. Thanks, Coach. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to afcapodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Inside the Headset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, be sure to find us online at afca.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit afcainsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter at Coach Mario Price. And remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.